Hey everyone, welcome to the webinar. We are here tonight with Cy Lee from Mortgage Guys. We're really excited to have everyone here, so thanks for joining us. Tonight we're going to be showing you how just one investment property can change your life and what kind of impact this can make for you and your family. So let's get started. As the owner and founder of Affluence Real Estate Group, our mission is to help clients build their family legacy and generational wealth. Through a planning approach and a focus on client experience and over 68 five-star Google reviews, our goal is to empower our clients and to acquire the knowledge to build significant wealth through real estate to live their life by design. I'd like to introduce you to Cy Lee. Cy Lee is a mortgage professional, has a lot of experience in the industry. He has a wealth of knowledge investing in real estate personally himself. Personally, I know there's a lot of tremendous value in this presentation. I wanted to ensure no one misses out on this knowledge. Cy?
Thank you, Sam. So a little bit about myself and what we do. I am a mortgage agent. I work for a company called MortgageGuys.com. And what we do is we find you the best mortgage products, the best rates, and the best solutions to meet your particular needs. We also work with lenders that you might already be familiar with, like TD Bank, Scotiabank, and various other lenders. So we have access to over 50 different lenders, and our job is to connect you with the right lender. I do invest in real estate personally myself. In my personal investing career, I have bought, flipped, and sold 27 properties, and I have done mortgages with several different types of banks. And I've done everything from just your regular property rental to your fix and flips, where we hire a team, renovate the property, and then we put the property back on the market for a profit. So you see, real estate, mortgages, this is a real passion of mine. And as much as I love just doing your regular mortgage, what really makes me excited about what I do for a living is that whenever I can show an investor just how to buy one investment property, they are always successful and they get to see the benefits and they experience this firsthand. And then what usually happens is that they want to buy more. And as time goes by, all of a sudden that investor has a portfolio of properties. By the way, whenever I mention this word investor tonight, I'm not talking about somebody who is doing this as a professional. I'm just referring to your average mom and dad household investor. So keep that in mind. So what exactly can one investment property do for you? You see, there are three big financial questions that keep people up at night. Most people are wondering, how can I pay off my mortgage in 10 years or in half the time? So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to do that. Okay? Instead of waiting the 25, 30 years to pay off your mortgage, we're going to show you a quicker way to do that. Some people are always wondering, hey, how am I going to pay for my children's education in full? You see, when I went to university, it cost me $5,000 a year. The last student I talked to mentioned somewhere around $20,000 a year now. And I just can't even imagine what that cost is going to look like 20 years from now for your children. And then, of course, how do you build extra wealth for retirement so that you can retire early and enjoy your life? Last but not least, this is a question that has been coming up a lot lately. And that question is, how am I going to get my children into home ownership? Especially with the way that house prices are going these days, the reality is you're going to have to help them out. And that's just going to be the solution. I also want to address this up front because sometimes when I'm doing this presentation, people are wondering, hey, Cy, are there any costs associated to your services? And what's the catch here? No, I'm not selling you any courses or memberships here. This is just me being a mortgage agent who's extremely passionate about this topic. I just want to educate you and share my personal experience with you. And so there's no cost, okay? So let's get into the investments and all the fun stuff now. All right, so the first thing I want to start with is let's look at what is the safest way to invest your money and how that works. So in a savings or a GIC account, okay, the average return is 1%. Okay, sure, maybe 2%, but on average, 1%. And what that means is this: if you invest $10,000, after 12 months, that $10,000 using 1% becomes $10,100. So therefore, you made $100, right? Congratulations, you are rich. However, don't forget about this thing called taxes. So if you were in this 30% tax bracket, okay, after taxes and whatnot, your net profit would actually be $70, and therefore you would actually net 0.7%. Now, let's look at that, what that means on a real level, okay? In terms of growth, what does that really mean? Because unfortunately, there's this thing called inflation, right? And what it means is that, you know that loaf of bread you paid $3 for? Well, next year, that same loaf of bread would cost you $3.09. And so let's go back to the example before of the 0.7% return, and we factor in the inflation rate of 3%. That means your total net effect is actually minus 2.3%. And what this really means is that we are actually going backwards now. Okay, so let me show you what I mean by that. In 12 months, using the same example of $10,000, it means that in 12 months, your $10,000 worth of buying power that you had actually becomes $9,770. So although it makes it look like, you know, in your bank account, it looks like you're making income on the front end, that's actually really not the case here, okay? And by the way, I just want to make it really clear that, you know, please don't take this message from me that I think that saving is a terrible idea. Okay, I think that saving is important. All I'm saying is that by saving your money, you're actually diminishing your power, your buying power over time. And by saving your money, like, you're just not going to get to the finish line. So instead, I'm going to show you something a little different. And what we must do instead is we must be looking at controlling assets that produce both an income and grow in value. So let me show you what I mean by that. On this slide here, this is an exercise. And this exercise, I'm going to be showing you 3 different investment options and how the banks, how they make their lending decisions based on how they see risk in these different investment classes. So the very first one, let's have a look. Buying a business. Let's say that, you know what, you had $100,000 available to you. It could be in the form of cash or in the property that you live in. And let's say you went to the bank, you sat down with the branch manager and you said, I have $100,000 available. I want to buy a business. How much money is your bank willing to lend me? If you took a wild guess, the answer would most likely be 0. And the reality is because banks, they don't like to lend on small businesses because they know that the majority will fail within the first 5 to 10 years. But let's be really generous, and let's say that the bank was willing to match you dollar for dollar, so they loaned you $100,000, and that's the best case scenario. So now you can go out and, yeah, you can buy yourself a $200,000 business, and it sounds pretty good, right? But I want you to ask yourself a question. This $200,000 business that you just bought yourself, do you think that this is a business where you can just pass the keys to some 20-year-old to take care of the business for you? And do you think it would be like a passive investment where literally it would just be turnkey, it makes the money for you? Absolutely not, right? What you've really done in this case is you've actually gone out and bought yourself a job. Okay, and what I mean by that is when you run a small business like this, okay, most likely your hours are not going to be, you know, a 9 to 5. Okay, this isn't no 9 to 5. It's actually going to be more like a 9 to 9 plus the weekends. And if you don't believe me, just ask any self-employed individual, okay, what their hours look like, and they'll tell you. Okay. Next, let's look at the stock market for next. And so same scenario, right? You got $100,000 available, and now you go to the branch manager and you tell them to bring in their #1 financial planner. And now you ask the bank, how much money is your bank willing to lend me to invest with your #1 financial planner? And in most cases, the answer would be 0. I know there's some exceptions to this, right? Unless you had millions of dollars sitting with these banks, sure, you might get an exception on this. But for the most of us, that's just not accessible. Let's be generous again, though, and let's just, you know, let's just pretend the bank was willing to match you dollar for dollar, and therefore they gave you $100,000. Now you have a $200,000 investment that you can put into the share market. Last option, the third option, is property investment. Same scenario, you have $100,000 available. And you see, when you buy property investment, when you buy an investment property, most banks are going to lend you 80% of the value when it comes to property. So therefore, you would get a loan of $400,000. And so you can go and buy a property for $500,000. Let's stop here for a second. Based on the numbers you see so far, what does this tell you about the banks, how the banks view risk, okay, when it comes to these investment classes, especially when the banks are willing to lend you $400,000 to buy a property versus $100,000 to buy a business or invest in the share market. And remember, that's like the best case scenario, right? So what does that tell you about risk exactly? What it means is that banks, they actually look at property investment to be 4 times less risky by a factor of 4. That's what it means. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's say your goal is to make $100,000 in the next 5 years. So in order for you to reach that goal with a small business or the share market, you would need a 50% return on your investment because you've got this $200,000 investment. So you need 50% in order to make the 100 grand. And what that really means is your investment would have to make you at least 10% a year, year over year consistently. And so for the average person, that can be quite difficult to do. Whereas property investment, we only need a 20% return. And if you break that down year over year, it's actually 4% a year. So what it means is this: if you bought a property, $500,000 today, and in 12 months, it's worth $520,000. Do you think that's reasonable? Right? Do you think that can happen in the real estate market? I'm sure most of you can agree those numbers are real, okay? Ask any homeowner. It could be a family member, a colleague, a friend. Just ask them if they have ever experienced a 4% growth on their property in 12 months. And I can almost guarantee you they would say yes. So therefore, in conclusion, with property investment being 4 times less risky, and we talked about that, we only need to see a 4% return in order to reach our goal versus the 10%. And this is real, guys. Like, people have experienced at least a 4% return themselves on their property. I would have to conclude and say that property investment is the superior investment here. Okay, Albert Einstein. What did Albert Einstein say was the most powerful force in the universe? He said that, the most powerful force in the universe is compound interest. You see, the way that real estate investors, how they get more and more wealthy is they take advantage of this thing called compound interest. Let's take a look at the power of just owning one investment property. Let me show you what I mean by this whole compound interest thing, okay? I've got a table here. It's just going to illustrate you the power of just owning just that one investment property, okay? On the left-hand side of this table, I'm using a 5-year period. So you're going to see year number 1 to 5. And across the top, you'll see the value at the start of each year. We're going to be using a 5% growth. And I'm also going to show you what that increase in value looks like and then what the value looks like at the end of the year as well, okay? So if you were to buy a $600,000 property using 5% growth, in the first year, the value increase on that would be about $30,000. And so therefore, after year number 1, your property would be worth $630,000. In year number 2, we start off using the compound interest. We're starting off now with a new value of $630,000, again, using 5% growth, and it's just going to keep compounding from there, okay? What I want you to pay attention to is at the end of year number 5, that property would be worth $765,000, $769, okay? And if I were to take the difference between what it's worth in 5 years from now versus what we originally bought it for, that difference would be $165,000 and some change. Now, because this is an investment property, you would have a tenant living in the property, and they would be paying down the mortgage for you as well. So that would also be a principal pay down of about $66,743. For now, I just want to let you know, I'm just using 3% as a rate, but I can tell you right now, based on today's market, you know what, if your credit and income's excellent, you're going to be getting way better rates than what you see here. But this is just to give you an idea of the principal pay down. So when you add up these two numbers, What it means is this: if you were to add up these two numbers, your total net effect of owning just one property for 5 years would be 232,511. And just remember, that's just the difference, right? Between value of what it is in 5 years, what you originally bought it for, and mortgage paid down. I'm not including the down payment in that number. Okay, just want to make sure you understand that. Now, I also want to address this issue of cash flow, okay? Because whenever I work with investors, sometimes they do ask me, hey, Sai, it's really hard to find any kind of property that's going to cash flow or whatever. And so I want to use an extreme example, and I want to explain some numbers to you here. Okay, so let's say, right, you buy a property and it costs you $500 a month out of your own pocket. Okay, after all expenses and whatnot, it costs you $500. And if you were to keep that property for 12 months, that would cost you $6,000, right? In 5 years, okay, you would contribute every $500 every month. In 5 years, it would be $30,000. So when you look at this total net effect of $232,000, if I was to take away that $30,000 out of your pocket and you were still left with $202,000, now ask yourself a question: are you still going to be okay with $202,000? And most people would have to agree with me, yes, they would be okay. So, in fact, you know what? If you were to contribute $500 a month into like a mutual fund, an RRSP, or any other traditional financial products, I can almost be pretty certain with this that you're not going to end up with somewhere around $200,000 in 5 years. It's just not going to happen. Okay. So, do you remember how I told you? I would show you how we're going to help you answer the 3 big financial questions that keep people up at night, right? How to pay off your mortgage in 10 years, how to pay for your children's education in full, and how do you build extra wealth for retirement. Okay. Let's see what happens when we do 10, 20, 30 years from now using the same formula I had before. Right? We went through the 5 years already. That's how we got that $232,000. And so in 10 years, as you continue to hold on to this property, your total net effect would be $521,000. So whenever somebody asks me, hey, Sai, how do I pay off my mortgage faster? My answer is always the same: buy an investment property. I'll give you an example of how that works, okay? If you were to buy, let's just say you had a $400,000 mortgage today. In 10 years, your mortgage would be approximately about $270,000, okay, in 10 years. If you sold the property in 10 years and you paid the taxes and the commissions to sell the property, and let's say, you were left with somewhere around $375,000, okay, depending on your tax bracket. You take that $375,000 from the proceeds of that sale, and you use it and you pay off your mortgage with that. Congratulations, you are now mortgage free in 10 years. In 20 years, the total net effect would be $1.3 million and some change, okay? So how do you pay for your children's education in full exactly? Well, let's take a comparison for a second. You see, the most popular education program in Canada is called RESP. I'm sure some of you have heard of this before. And the way it works is this: there is a maximum lifetime contribution of about $50,000. So if you contribute $2,500 per year per child, that's $50,000 in 20 years. Plus the government gives you a top up as well of like $7,200. So now you have like $57,200 to invest per child. That money, obviously, it makes interest over the years and years. And whenever I talk to financial advisors about this, I have been told that, Sai, on average, in 20 years, you will be able to gift your child somewhere around $80,000 to $100,000 per child. Okay. And you know what? Sure, that's great. Or you can do this, like $1.3 million. And even after taxes, commissions, I'm telling you, investment property is still going to win. It's going to be at least 6-8 times more than any RESP program you have for your children. The last question: how do you build extra wealth for retirement? So in 30 years, that's $2.5 million and 93,000 or some change. Okay. if you want to build extra wealth for retirement, you need to buy real estate. Okay, I have clients in their 30s. Okay, they're already on this path. They are already building an early retirement because they got in the market earlier than later. Okay, however, I also have clients who approach me in their 40s and in their 50s. You know what? They did everything they were supposed to do. They did what their parents told them to do. They did what their financial advisor told them to do. And, you know, one day they finally sat down and they did all the math. And then they realized that, hey, if we keep doing what we're doing now, we're not going to get to the finish line. And so for those people, because they don't have another 30 years, right? What we do is we put together a strategy for them so that they can buy 2, 3 properties and still get the same end result. So it's never too late to get started. Okay, I want to show you a couple numbers here. And the most fascinating number to me is that 30-year number you see at the top right there. Just look at that number there. It's a 72% annual return, okay, on your initial capital. So your initial down payment that you put into this property, if you held it for 30 years using a 5% growth, ultimately it would end up look like you're making a 72% return on your money year over year. Okay, you see, it's interesting, right? Because, you know, we were all taught to go to school, to go and get a good job, to go and get promotions, but nowhere in that system ever taught us, what do we do with our money when we have it? So what do? Well, instead, we walk our money over to the banks, and then we hope that they have our best interests at heart. So in other words, we hope that they look after our money better than we would. And I can tell you right now, nobody looks after your money better than you do. So if you can take back control of your own money and reinvest this money in yourself, then why wouldn't you do it? Okay. I want to make a couple comments about this slide here as well, okay? Because I have received questions about it before, and some people, they do have some concerns about the market crashing, or, you know, that we're in some housing bubble. And I just want you to think about 2 things here. So number 1, go back and look at housing prices 10, 20, 30 years ago. If I showed you the same presentation 10, 20, 30 years ago, okay, would you agree with me today that housing prices ever since then have doubled or even tripled in price, right? Secondly, even if I was half right, okay, and you chopped all of these numbers in half, would you still be okay? So for your children, instead of having $1.3 million, if I was even half right and you were looking at somewhere around $500,000 in 20 years for your children, you know, is that still going to be, you know, a terrible day? Okay, even if I was half right. So what about the risk, right? I do hear things like, you know, property investment is risky, it's scary. I'd rather put my money elsewhere. You know, I don't want to take on any more debt. This is how I look at risk when it comes to property investment. So risk, it has nothing to do, well, I would say risk, it's not equal, okay? It's not equal to the amount of debt you owe. Okay? In my opinion, risk is a function of these 3 things here. So the demand you have for the asset you own, the control you have over that asset, and also what the exit strategy is when you need to sell and get the heck out of there. So let me tell you a story. In 2015, there was a big automotive manufacturing company, and what they did was they imported thousands of vehicles to Canada. They rigged the cars to cheat the emission standards. They lied about it, and then they got caught. And when they got caught, they had to pay a fine of somewhere around like $200 million. And within a matter of days, that stock, it dropped 30%. So imagine if you have, like, for every $100 that you have invested in this stock, all of a sudden that $100 within a matter of 3 days turns into $70. So what do you think happens to the demand of that stock, right? It drops. What kind of control do you have over the value of that stock now? Zero control. And what kind of exit strategies are available to you? Well, you can either sell and lose, or you can hold it and pray. Okay. With investment property, there's definitely a demand for real estate, right? We all know that. Right? Just look at housing prices. Look at how fast houses are selling off the market. And when it comes to control of that property, right? Let's just say you bought this crummy house. It's in a nice neighborhood. What can you do to the house? Well, you can add value to it. You can use your own hands. I call it sweat equity, where you go and renovate the home yourself. You can hire out the work if you want. And you know what? You can even pick, once you're all done, you can even pick the tenant who gets to live in there. So you have complete control over this property. Let's talk about extra strategies. So you can rent it out. You can sell the property, right? Call Sam. You can improve it and then increase the rent income or the sale price. You can change its use as well to a duplex. So add a basement apartment. Now you are collecting additional income. You can do a rent to own. And my favorite of all, you can increase its value by, you get it appraised at a higher value. You pull out the equity. You take the equity and you keep doing over and over again. So lots and lots of extra strategies available for investment property. Okay. Other common concerns that people might have, I don't want to be a landlord. What if my tenants damage the property or they don't pay? And I don't want to fix toilets in the middle of the night. The solution to all this is the right property management and insurance. I want you to think about something for a second, okay? Whenever you put your money with just traditional financial products, I don't know if some of you know this, but there's something called a management fee. Okay, so what the banks do is this: the banks, they love it when you put money with their financial products for a reason. Okay, they got this vested interest of you putting your money there because of this thing they call a management fee. And what that means is this: if you had a $400,000 investment portfolio, okay, I'm going to use a 2% management fee. It means that whether your investment portfolio made you money or not, you're actually paying $8,000 a year for this management fee. Okay. If you were to hire out property management, like a property management company to take care of any tenant or property issues you might have, okay, it would cost you about a month of rent. So if you were renting out a property for $2,000 a month, that's what it would cost you, right? $2,000 versus $8,000, whether your investment made you money or not. Okay? I just want you to process that and think about that for a second. Okay. So where do we start, right? Well, we can always start with the savings that you have available, right? Some of you might have cash to invest with. The other way to start is the equity in your home, okay? The equity in the home that you live in. So let's say that you had a property, it's worth $600,000 in today's market, and you had this $300,000 mortgage. I'm going to show you what this means. The banks are going to allow you to access up to 80% of the value. Okay, so on a $600,000 property, it means they would allow you to access up to $480,000. Then we take that minus the existing $300,000 mortgage. It means you would have about $180,000 of available equity to you. So what do? Well, we take about $120,000 of that available equity, and then we use that as the 20% down on that $600,000 investment property. This is one of my favorite things about real estate and mortgages. Okay, it's one of the reasons why I am so passionate about all this, because it's the exact same strategy that I used to buy real estate with. Okay, all I ever did was use the bank's money to make money. And it's what I call having your money work for you. So in summary, okay, we talked about different investment assets. We compared business, share market, buying investment property, and we concluded that property is what the banks bank on. It is obviously the superior investment. I also showed you how we answered the big three financial questions, and the answer to the big three financial questions was buy an investment property. Okay. So this is what our clients are saying about us. And, I can't stress how important it is to work with the right professionals, okay, when it comes to buying investment property. Mortgages, they are extremely specific, okay? It's all about having your mortgage set up correctly, okay? This is going to allow you to get access to that equity in your home. And it's going to allow you to be more successful long-term by buying additional properties with minimal fees paid to the banks, okay? So it's all about how you structure the mortgage. When it comes to finding the right property, Sam, he is a very reputable real estate agent. Okay? He's extremely knowledgeable. He's professional, and I have heard nothing but great things. I've heard nothing but great things about him. So how do you get started? Well, the first thing you do is you book a call with me. You go to www.bookwithcy.com. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a 20 to 30-minute strategy call with you. We will ask you some questions to see if this is something you can do. And if this is something you can do, then we start the pre-approval process, and we send you your very own customized plan. Okay. And what I mean by that is, you're going to get a budget sheet. It's going to have all the numbers in front of you so that you can make the best decision possible. And then obviously you can go and start shopping for investment properties with Sam. This is the last slide here. Okay, I just want to leave you with my final thoughts, and then we will take questions. So every day when you wake up, you have the opportunity to be the CEO of yourself. And that means you ultimately get to make your own decisions every day. Imagine if you could go back 10 years from now, would you have loved to buy a property in the same neighborhood you live in now? Absolutely, right? Everybody would. So unfortunately, we can't go back in time, right? However, you can make a decision today that will make an impact on your life 10 years from now. And all your future self is saying to you right now is, are you really doing the best with what you have? And if you see an opportunity here to make your life better, then why wouldn't you want to explore that, right? So, okay, thank you. So that's the end of the presentation. I see a lot of, see a couple questions here come up. You know what, Sam, there's a couple specific mortgage questions here. So why don't I take care of that first, and then I'll leave you to the rest. Is that good?
Sounds great.
Okay, awesome. So, Ryan here. Okay, Ryan, you were asking what sort of down payment is required for an investment property? Good question. So for investment property, the minimum required is going to be 20% down. Okay. Stacy here as well. She asked a really good question in follow up to the one you had, Ryan, and she was saying, Stacy was asking, where am I getting the money from? Okay, so people will either have cash or savings available. Okay, and that's where they can start. I've also had people withdraw their investments from the traditional financial products. And it's just because they know that, look, real estate is going to win at the end. Okay, so, but that's okay. Like if you don't have cash, savings, or investment available, hey, that's okay too, because what we're going to do is we will help you, and we will provide you a very, very specific strategy where, we are going to show you how to use the debt equity in your home. Okay. So let's say you bought a home with 20% down or more, at the time you purchased, right? Most likely you're going to be sitting on a whole bunch of debt equity, doing nothing for you anyways. So instead, we're going to show you how to put that debt equity to work for you. And ultimately, you could possibly be buying your next investment property with literally no money out of your pocket. Like, it's awesome. And if you're wondering what I mean by debt equity, this just means that fair market value of your home today minus the current balance on your mortgage. That's what I mean. Okay. Okay. Joanna here. Joanna asked, when is the best time to buy or get into the market? I think, Joanna, this is a better question for Sam. So Sam, why don't you take this one?
Great. Thanks for the question, Joanna. So because what we reviewed today is, dollarizing the return of real estate and versus other investments, the best time to invest in real estate is whenever you're able to do so. We all say that money is not made of timing the market. It's actually made of time in the market. So why is it important to invest now? Well, increased immigration, limited housing, more people purchasing real estate as an investment vehicle because they see the obvious financial returns long term. The 5%, in fact, appreciation over the last 40 years, according to the Real Estate Investment Network, just shows you, even through economic challenges and political challenges, this says that even with modest appreciation, real estate is still being a powerful form of leverage, is increasing in value over time, and through equity buildup and mortgage paydown. So decreased affordability, simply amplifying the demand for reasonable cost, housing in the lower price range. The best time to get in the market is now. And when you do get in the market, this will start the snowball effect of building your wealth quickly over time, being able to acquire multiple investment properties and set you up for financial freedom. Now, I do have a question from Glenn. What type of property is best for investment? Thanks for the question, Glenn. So there's really no one size fits all answer here. When you map out your financial plan with Sai, after reviewing this information, putting into action today, learning what money you can access, the next step would be to book a consultation with myself and our team. In this consultation, we review what areas and properties to purchase in, what areas to stay away from, what are your personal and financial goals, how involved would you be in the management, property, or hands-off? Do you value increase of equity over cash flow? Economic indicators, great resale, easeability to rent are a great start. Generally, freehold homes, condos can have advantages. Condos of lower maintenance and less amenities with good financial health are a great start. Purchasing in a family-friendly neighborhood, close amenities, what we call cookie-cutter properties, are a great bet. So single-family homes, including single, semi-detached, condo towns, and single detached homes, although may cost a little bit of money to keep, increase of value very well over time, according to our research. So we have Shelly here. Shelly says, where should I invest? So Shelly, we covered this a little bit above, and I would add that we review all neighborhoods and potential properties for market rents, easeability to rent in that area, and close to amenities and good quality schools. A property downtown, for example, could be a great fit for a single or young professional, young couple, even a professor that would like to be close to the tech hub, for example, values convenience and the urban lifestyle. Neighborhoods and family-friendly areas where you see a mix of family homes, single detached, and low to medium density is also a great bet. With that being said, it depends on your risk tolerance. For example, some clients had purchased in B neighborhoods. They see the opportunity that they might be developing quite a bit with reduced affordability, driving more people buying there. It depends on your personal risk tolerance, and generally staying in family-friendly areas, easy to rent, close to plenty of amenities and local schools are a great start. So, it appears that's all the questions we have.
Okay.
If you would like to start building a better future for yourself and your family, take the first step, do it today, book a call with Sai, and let's show you just how one property can change your life.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. And we look forward to connecting.
Thank you.